The Galactic Academy's Xenopsychology department had encountered numerous peculiar specimens throughout the ages, yet none were quite as intriguing as the humans occupying the front row of Professor Vex High's Advanced Predator Studies course. Marcus Chun seemed quite ordinary. By typical measures, he was of average height, with dark hair, dressed in the usual academy jumpsuit, but there was an undeniable quality about him that caused the other students to instinctively move their seats away. Professor Vex High, a towering figure of shimmering clarity from the Thray Collective, had dedicated more than 2 centuries to the art of interspecies psychology education. She took great satisfaction in her ability to comprehend the instinctual drives that motivated different species throughout the galaxy. Today's lesson would challenge every concept she had crafted. "Class," she declared, her voice echoing through the clear passages of her form. "Today we delve into the patterns of fear responses as they vary across diverse evolutionary histories. As you are aware, fear serves as the ultimate leveler. It surpasses the boundaries of species, culture, and technological progress. The gathered students, Catharian insectoids, gaseous nebulans encased in environmental suits, scaled draconic descendants, and a variety of other sentient species leaned in with keen interest. Everyone else was engaged, while Marcus remained still, diligently jotting down notes, embodying a serene focus. For this demonstration, Professor Vex High elaborated, "I've organized a particularly noteworthy guest." She pointed to the sturdy observation chamber that took up a prominent position on one wall of the classroom. "Allow me to introduce a void stalker, often referred to in common parlance as a fear beast." The group instinctively recoiled as the being was brought in on a heavily fortified transport platform. The emptiness, the pursuer was a terror brought to life. Approximately the dimensions of a sizable terrestrial wolf, its form appeared to consume light itself. Its shape perpetually transformed between the tangible and the intangible, and in place of its eyes, there were 2 points of pure essence. Shadows surveyed the gathered students. The most unsettling aspect was the swirling tendrils of psychic energy that visibly coiled around its shape, hunting for fear to consume. "Void stalkers," the professor articulated, her voice revealing a subtle quiver, "are arguably the most adept hunters in the vast expanse of known space. They do not seek nourishment in the conventional manner. They thrive on fear itself. Their extraordinary talents enable them to bring forth the most profound anxieties of their targets, establishing a cycle that usually leads to total mental collapse prior to the final act." A number of students had already powered up their individual shield generators. The suits designed for the nebula were engaging in their stress response routines, while one of the Catharians was unknowingly releasing defensive pheromones. "The entity is presently secured by Class A psionic dampeners," Professor Vex High observed, reviewing her data. "For this demonstration, we will gradually reduce the dampening field to observe the fear responses within our varied class population." Marcus persisted in jotting down notes, seemingly unfazed by the seething presence of sinister intent just a few meters from him. Professor Vex High took note of this and resolved to pay closer attention to the human. She announced the initiation of dampening field reduction. As the mental defenses faltered, the presence of the void stalker started to permeate the classroom. The being's head turned sharply to face the gathered students, its pitch-black eyes scanning them as if searching for something hidden. Everywhere one turned, students started to exhibit signs of unease. The Catharians' chittering became increasingly frantic, the nebula's suits detected heightened stress hormones, and the draconic descendants instinctively bared their teeth in defensive stances. However, an extraordinary event unfolded. The Void Stalker's gaze settled on Marcus, and rather than unleashing the anticipated psychic onslaught, the creature merely halted. Its ever-changing shape solidified a bit, and the twisting tendrils of psychic energy that had been reaching eagerly toward the other students abruptly ceased their movement. "Intriguing," Professor Vex High whispered, adjusting her tools. "The being appears to have faced a certain level of opposition. The void stalker inclined its head in a manner that seemed to convey a sense of bewilderment. It directed its attention more sharply towards Marcus, prompting the human to finally lift his eyes from his notes and engage with the creature's gaze directly. The events that unfolded next would spark discussions in xenopsychology circles for many years ahead. The fearsome void stalker, a notorious predator across the galaxy, started to whimper. Not the threatening rumble of a predator thwarted by elusive quarry, but the bewildered, nearly sorrowful noise of a being facing something entirely beyond its instinctual understanding. The ethereal strands that had been exploring Marcus's thoughts withdrew as though scorched. "Raise the dampening field," Professor Vex High instructed, yet her assistant remained momentarily speechless, unable to react. Marcus rose gradually, keeping his gaze fixed on the creature. "It's all right," he murmured softly, though it was uncertain if he was speaking to the class or the lurking presence in the shadows. The locks of the transport container had inexplicably come undone, be it due to a fault or the creature's own doing. Engaging, no one could declare. The shadowy figure emerged from its prison, its shape gaining substance with every stride it took toward Marcus. The classroom was filled with chaos as the emergency alarms blared, prompting several students to activate their personal teleportation devices, vanishing in bursts of light. Professor Vex High was desperately summoning security while retreating toward the door, yet Marcus maintained an unshakable composure, even as the universe's most adept terror hunter drew nearer. He extended one hand slowly, palm upward, in a gesture that conveyed a blend of humility and invitation. The shadowy figure pressed its snout against his palm, its shape becoming increasingly tangible. Then, in a gesture that contradicted all that the Galactic Academy understood about the species, it settled at Marcus's feet, coiling up like a satisfied companion, and shut its eyes. The room hushed, save for the faintly fading beeps of the alarms. "In what way?" Professor Vex High murmured, her shimmering figure dulled by disbelief. Marcus raised his gaze to her, a contemplative look on his face. He stated it plainly, attributing it to a lack of fear on his part. "There is a common expression among people. The sole thing we need to dread is dread itself. Having endured extinction events, world wars, plagues, and numerous other historical horrors, one cultivates a unique connection with fear." He softly rested his hand on the void stalker's head, and the creature's purring, a sound never documented by any xenobiologist, resonated throughout the chamber. "We do not eradicate fear," Marcus continued. "We recognize it, comprehend it, and select our reaction to it. I believe this small creature has yet to meet a mind capable of facing fear head-on without being overwhelmed by it. It must be quite isolating, drawing sustenance from fear, yet never knowing the warmth of straightforward acceptance." The sound of the void stalker's purring intensified. Professor Vex High would subsequently document in her report that the human species signified a crucial transformation in galactic psychology. They were the ultimate hunters, having mastered the art of embracing their own fears, which rendered them possibly the most formidable beings in the galaxy. Their threat did not stem from a propensity for brutality, but rather from their utter invulnerability to fear itself. Marcus persisted in his classes, his new companion resting serenely at his feet, transforming the exploration of interspecies psychology, one fear beast at a time.